What's going on, everybody? Tom here with Keto Lifestyle, and today we are making keto biscuits. Now, I'm not talking about those hard, crumbly things that pass as biscuits when you're on keto. I'm talking about real biscuits, like the Red Lobster Cheesy Biscuit. Now, these things are awesome. They are fluffy. Look at that cheese. Look at how they tear. Guys, this is real bread. I'm not even kidding. So stay tuned to the end for the taste test. But before that, I'm going to show you guys how to make it. Now, first things first, we're going to want to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. While our oven is preheating, we're going to actually make our biscuits. The first ingredient in this is 1/2 cup of almond flour. To our almond flour, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of psyllium husk powder. Now, for those of you that aren't too familiar with keto baking or even gluten-free baking, psyllium husk powder is used to stop dough from falling apart. So you know how when you get crumbly biscuits, it's because you're not using any psyllium husk powder because there's no gluten in the recipe itself. Next up is 2 tablespoons of xanthan gum. And just to give you a little background on xanthan gum, what it's actually used for is to allow air to be combined into doughs, because a lot of times you'll get really dense stuff when you're baking keto. Xanthan gum will fix that. And to raise it up a little bit, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now it is time for our seasonings, and the first one is going to be salt, and that you are going to need 1/2 teaspoon. Followed by a 1/2 teaspoon of parsley. You can use fresh, but again, I always keep the dried stuff on hand. Followed by a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. That concludes our dry ingredients, so we're going to go ahead and mix this up a little bit before we start adding our wet ingredients. First up in the wet ingredients is 2 large eggs. Now, I like to buy these brown ones that are, cage-free. I think they call them happy eggs. Use whatever eggs you have. I just like these because the yolks seem to be a little bit more rich. Now we are going to add 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. You can use grated, but I feel that you get a better texture if you use shredded. Now, this ingredient might throw you off a little bit, and that's going to be 1/2 cup of sour cream. Don't get me wrong, you can use heavy cream, but I feel that sour cream actually gives it a better texture, kind of like it does the sour cream cookies, so I recommend using a 1/2 cup of sour cream. Again, if you don't have it, feel free to use heavy cream, and it should come out just fine. Now, you had to have seen this coming since we are making cheddar cheese biscuits, so we're going to add 1 cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. At this point, we are done with our ingredients, so it is time to mix. Now, you want to make sure you mix this really, really well. At some point, you may even have to ditch the wooden spoon and go right in there with your hands. I opted not to because apparently it doesn't look too good on camera, or so I've been told. But mix this up real well, and then we're going to make it into our biscuits. Making the biscuits is quite easy. You're just going to grab probably a 1.5 to 2 inch ball, roll it in your hand till it's smooth, and then flatten it out into a biscuit shape, as you can see me doing here. Now, the biscuits will not spread too awful much in terms of width, but they will grow in height, so you don't have to worry a lot about spacing them out very far apart. They're not going to spread, they're just going to rise. Now, I'm going to finish up the rest of these before we stick them in the oven. It's worth noting here that I tried that measuring cup technique that I used with the crab cakes, where you kind of pack it into a 1/4 cup and dump it out in order to make a biscuit-shaped object. The problem was the 1/4 cup was just a little bit too big, so I opted just to do it by hand. But if you want big biscuits, go for it. Now my oven has come up to 350 degrees, so it is time to put the biscuits in. And they're going to bake for between 15 and 20 minutes, depending on the size of them. You'll know when they're golden brown. Alright, everybody, now that you've seen how to make it, it is time for the taste test. So what I have here is that biscuit that I tore in the opening sequence, and I threw a little bit of butter on there because butter makes everything better, and it upped the fats a little bit. Now the macros are already really good, check out the description for the macros, but time for the taste test. Now guys, the butter puts it over the edge. These things are phenomenal. You get a little bit of the garlic, definitely the cheese comes through. They are fluffy, they have enough squish to them that you actually think you're eating a real biscuit. And the butter, come on guys, butter is amazing. So with that, I'm gonna close the video. If you liked the video, leave it a like. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed yet, come on guys, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot, and you get to see more awesome recipes like this. But without anything else guys, I'm gonna go ahead and eat the rest of these, so I'll see you in the next one.